You have now joined the Education Evolution. You're listening to Unscripted. This is a podcast for the thinkers, the doers, and those who know the most important lessons aren't always learned in school.
But today's conversation is going to look and feel a little different than our first 3 episodes that dropped last week. Did you listen to them? Did you at least one? Okay. Like, if you haven't, I'm just going to ask you to pause this episode where we're at to make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel and, maybe go and add an older episode to your watch list. I don't know.
I'm Mr. Jihad, and
I am Lindsay, affectionately known as Miss Black.
And this episode is no real notes, no real prep, just real talk with your hosts, Lindsay and Hadi, and we're going to jump right on in. So I'm excited. So first of all, we had a reset, Linz. We really wanted to just really talk about the fact that, how we got to where we are today. Why did we go through a rebrand? And I think that we can go ahead and start with just the fact that how TRP, what is TRP? The Reformist Pipeline, that was what our former podcast name was. And that was really born out of responding to like what the needs were as we were classroom teachers, which we are no longer. And the fact that as classroom teachers, I think that we really felt like teachers' voices are often not heard. And the real day-to-day responsibilities of what a teacher even does is constantly overshadowed by whatever quick 5-second viral trend is going through TikTok and all the other social media platforms, and also the surface level solutions that are being provided. And so, like I said, now that we both have kind of left the classroom and realized that we have evolved. We really just wanted a new space where it could really be an opportunity for us to kind of showcase the evolution of ourselves, and that also to kind of name that change does not only happen by fixing a system, but it also happens in conversation. It also happens in community. And when we're provided those spaces to kind of be able to grow and to pivot and to question and learn outside of school, it really gives us the space to be our true and best selves. And so I'm just happy for us to be in this space, and just wanted to give you space also, Linz, like if you have anything to say there, because I feel like that was a mouthful.
It was. I felt inspired. I'm like, damn, that is good. Because that is the whole point. Like we both started as classroom teachers, and I actually was looking at some of the reviews from like years ago. Some people, our stuff resonates with them strongly, and sometimes people are upset. And someone mentioned in one of the negative comments, it was something about us griping. They was probably talking about me. The gag is though that there was so much to gripe about. Being in the classroom at that time, having taught through the pandemic, having experiences with microaggressions, having experiences with being silenced when you're just trying to advocate for children and figuring out how to advocate for yourself. And if I can't speak this way in my building 100%, I should be able to speak about it in my community, in my virtual community. And some of the stuff that we say here is going to completely resonate with you. You're going to want to send a certain episode to somebody. And some of the stuff that we say and we feel may not resonate with you. And I just want to remind everybody that that's okay. And that's actually the human experience. And that is what building true connection and intimacy is people being true, people being held accountable. If there's something, if we misspeak, which we would never do, but if we say something that's out of turn, that's not accurate, we want like our listeners to really feel like this is a community. We will be reading the comments on YouTube. We will be looking at the DMs on our Instagram. And I think that's what's most exciting about being in this space and this rebrand is that like we're moving to a space where it is just more inclusive because we're not just speaking to educators. We will never forget about educators, but the people that consider themselves to be lifelong learners.
Yeah. And I think that was a perfect kind of segue into just talking about what our goal is in this rebrand is. And also I think speaking to what the space that we've provided, to your point, before was like us trying to talk to educators, but it's always been about everyone. Like it's always been about community, bringing everyone in and finding words and terms to call people so that you have a space to identify as. And so that's what this is about too, is like the education evolution. Our goal is going to be about inviting everybody in, regardless of what career path that you may be on. And this brand really does reflect that. And we don't want you to feel like you can't put a different perspective. Bring those perspectives, bring those opinions. We come one, come all. Like, that's what this space is for. And we want to be able to provide the resources so that you are able to evolve as we are doing, because that's what this is all about.
For sure. For sure. Now, let's dig into some of the more specific changes. That was like, the spiritual stuff. But now, chiseling it down. Okay, lots of newness, lots of new things. Y'all have already gotten a taste of the newness if you tuned in to the 3 episodes that dropped last week. So at the tail end of TRP, we were doing visuals. We were on YouTube, but we're doing it heavy right now. Instagram is going to look just more cohesive. It's going to be just more information that we feel like is going to be timely for you all. And the information is going to be rooted in our 4 different episodes. And so our first episode, okay, let me rewind. So sorry. There are 4 weeks in a month. Okay, look at my nails. Happy Halloween.
You're already jumping in. I love that. I'm just out saying them.
There are 4 weeks in a month, okay? And so each week you're going to get a new episode. The first 3 episodes, we decided we needed to have something that was more bite-sized for people with shorter commutes, with less time, but really don't want to lose the value. So it's just less fluff, anything from 10 to 15 minutes that's the duration of our first 3 episodes. So the first episode of the week is going to be Tech Evolution. And that is essentially about all things tech, AI integration and education, terminology, quick hits for AI. I'm in edtech sales, and so it's something that's always top of mind. But I also meet other tech people that are not necessarily in education. And so we want to make sure that we're providing a space to have a conversation about what learning tech and this learning curve looks like. Our second episode in week 2, lifelong learning. This episode is designed for the lifelong learner. We're just going to explore how schools and education systems have shaped our daily lives and our decisions in anything like broader societal dynamics in that way. So our most recent lifelong learning episode from last week, which you are going to go watch on YouTube, job training, the difference between onboarding versus orientation. Like, no, that's not school in a classroom, but every time you go to a job, you need to ramp up. That's you learning something new. And our third episode, remember, these are the 10 to 15 minute long episodes, all passed through the real world. This is kind of our current event episode with like an education perspective. So this name suggests a connection between classroom learning and our real world events, highlighting the relevance of education to our current affairs. So I spoke about the executive order around AI literacy and increasing proficiency around that. There may be other current events that we mention. You're like, what does it have to do with education? Trust and believe that everything can be tied back to education. That's the point here. And lastly, you are witnessing in live action right now our 4th episode of the month, and it's called Unscripted, where we're ditching all the lesson plans, all the scripts, because it is really going to be unscripted. We're just being honest about our conversations, what's going on in our life, how we're learning and how we're navigating life. Life is sometimes a little messy, but it's always meaningful. And we just want to make sure that we're not always highlighting the factual things or the positive things. We're highlighting how we feel and our opinions, and sometimes they're going to look messy and sometimes they're going to look good. So you're getting 4 episodes, 1 per week. You're welcome. We drop every Wednesday. So maybe you want to watch it every Wednesday. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts every Wednesday. Or maybe you want to wait till the end of the month so you can binge, because you might be a binger like me. Either way, that's how it's going to look different. The Reformist Pipeline lives in our hearts, but we are now part of the education evolution.
That was a good synopsis. I love that.
I felt that. And I guess it's a good time for us to kind of slide into some of our personal updates. Because technically, we ghosted y'all in May of 2023. Like, left, disappeared, didn't say nothing to the audience members. There's actually some people, I don't know if you remember, Jahad, but there's some people that we recorded episodes with or scheduled a recording episode and like didn't say nothing at all, which is not in our character. I want y'all to know that.
No.
But we're bringing up the humanness here and the grace. So our last episode dropped May 22nd, 2023. My friend passed on May 29th of 2023. And by the time you listen to this, we will be in October, but September is Suicide Prevention Month or Suicide Awareness Month, and my friend did die by suicide, which is a large part as to why we essentially ghosted y'all and didn't come back. I think grief is heavy. Grief is heavy. And we don't talk about grief enough. And for anybody who has experienced the loss of a loved one by suicide, you know, grief is one thing, and then there's nuances based on like who passed. Because, and this is not a grief comparison party, but grieving loss of a friend is different from grieving loss of a mother. But either way, we don't talk about grief enough. And so it blindsided me. I was off of all social media platforms for like the rest of the year, y'all. I put on a whopping 20 pounds. Why did my friend let me get so fat? Jesus! But it was grief. It was grief. It was grief, guys.
I'm still being held accountable to this.
Until I am a slim, tender 170, everyone's being held accountable, okay? I've been 170 since 2020 when we was doing any type of workout just to pass the time during the pandemic, but that's irrelevant here. Irrelevant. Yeah, it was a very, I mean, I don't want to say was like it's past tense because it still is like something that's difficult and something that I'm just living with, but I'm not sad all the time. I do want to say that in a public space because when I be posting my friend on Instagram, people are like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm okay. It's just still want to be in this remembrance. But as you can imagine, grief is trauma. Trauma changes your brain chemistry, doesn't allow you to be able to produce in the manner that you need to be able to produce, which is part of the reason why we had to take an extendo clip break.
And, you know, I will say, you know, I remember where I was when I got the call from you, and I was around on a ship somewhere in Europe, and I was in my room, but I vividly remember just you saying it out loud, and I was in so much disbelief. And so I look back to that day because I'm just like, I wanted to be so much closer to you. I wanted to be in a lot closer proximity just to give you all of the love and right, that as well. But it is just beyond me, but beyond words for me, because I do remember, like, I remember my whole feeling, losing all of the feelings in my body, just thinking about all of it. And just I don't know, this episode will mean so much more. This episode means a lot to me because it's in remembrance of her. And so I just wanted to share that with you and say that, because you are amazing, and I've seen you every step of the way. And so just wanted to pour that love on you because you deserve it.
Thank you. That really means a lot to me. And if there's anybody listening that is not a griever, I just wanted to remind people that if you haven't experienced grief, then you probably don't fully understand somebody's experience, right? I just want to push society and the collective just a step further. Asking someone who's grieving or someone who's experienced any trauma, like, hey, what do you need? Or let me know if you need anything. We've got to push past that. I just want y'all to know. Think about it this way. I know you don't know what to do. I know you don't know what to do. You blindsided too. But the person who is actually experiencing the trauma, their whole hormones shifted, brain shifted, memory terrible, probably can't even think about, it's probably hard for them to eat, it's probably hard for them to sleep, right? Let alone process it enough to figure out what words to tell you that they need, you know? Because if you're thinking about it, and it's not that people who aren't grieving don't have things going on, but in that moment, the person who's not grieving actually has more of a mental capacity to do some figuring out more than the person that's grieving. All of y'all use, probably not all y'all, let me not say all y'all, because I'm not going to be mad that I say it, use conversational AI to some extent. All of you have access to Google. Lots and lots and lots of you have access to some social media platform. And all of those spaces, what do they have in common? They're search engines. You can search, what does it look like to support my friend that's grieving? I'm quick to send a DoorDash gift card, an Uber Eats gift card, send some flowers, like something, just to be on the phone and just listen to them. Hey, tell me about your loved one. Like, what's your fondest memory? Like, giving them space to actually live in remembrance of their loved ones. A lot of people are just nervous. They don't know how to push past their like initial, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to be quiet. That's not
Yeah.
helpful. That's not helpful. It's anti-collectivist. Like, we have to push past things that are uncomfortable. We have to sacrifice our temporary moments of discomfort for the greater good and like building further intimacy and connection with people. So I just wanted to drop that because I've been saying that to anybody who will listen. And because this podcast is about lifelong learning, we may hit you with something like, I didn't even know I was learning that today. I'm sure you guys didn't know we were talking about that today. But I just think that it's an important conversation for us to have and continue to have. And sometimes we just need a new perspective.
You know me. I agree, and B, I think that when it comes to grief, that it isn't something that's discussed enough, and I think that we even talk about this when we're talking about being in relation with someone, like the dating experience, the courting experience. A lot of that isn't; those aren't things that are being taught, and so these topics. And I know that in our former podcast, we had a series called Taboo. This is one of those things that is seen as taboo. And so the more we talk about it, the more normalized it becomes. And I think that you said something that is very profound that I was talking to people about recently. And I think the first thing that people just need to learn how to do is listen. Like, I think that present day, we are so quick to...
As I'm cutting you off and not listening. You do a good job.
No, but it's just, I think that that's the first step, is that people oftentimes just want to be heard in a world that really does attempt to silence people. And going back to the reason as to why we founded the Reformist Pipeline initially, it was to give voice to that. And so this literally does come full circle, is that grief looks differently for people. And so just be in a space and just be present to hear what it is that they have to say. And 9 times out of 10, they may even share something that can give you the tool and the way to support them. But to Lindsay's point, the other aspect of it is maybe they don't. And maybe that is you take that on you to go look it up. Like, it literally will take 5 seconds these days. So find the resources. The resources are out there. Use them. Use them. Use them. Use them.
Go ahead and give us a positive update, Todd.
Yeah, I mean...
Smooth transition, too.
Smooth transition. And so I would say that year as well, so while I was in Europe, I had finished my, where was I? I went to Greece and Turkey and Spain, and I finished in Spain visiting the Queen Bee for her Renaissance tour. And I had the time of my life. And the reason why, I was on the floor, so that... I don't know. I'm conflicted about the floor seats right now. But anyways, what I will say, and because for her Europe leg of her tour, she didn't have seats on the floor. And so I was standing the whole entire time for hours upon hours. And I was like, okay, this is a lot. And all these folks are smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, get it away from me, please. No, but all that to say, the reason why it also was so amazing is my college best friends were there. And it just... you don't think about adulting in that light until you get to another country and you're at a concert and you're looking at them. You're like, wow, both of my college, they're with their husbands. And I'm just like, this is just yesterday, we were all in a dorm room crammed up studying for something or about to go out for a party. And now here we are years later, and one has a child. It's just, it all comes full circle. And so it's just really beautiful to kind of... So celebrating life, and just was very happy to kind of be in that space. And then from there, I would say, and I think that at that point in life, I was celebrating a year at being in the tech space. And so I think I don't know if I had shared at that point that I had gotten a new job, but was transitioning into the HR talent world in a formal capacity. And the reason why I say formal capacity, because Lynn will tell y'all, I've always been in a space in which I'm sharing roles, trying to help people edit their resumes, give formal, informal coaching. I am mentoring people indirectly, directly. And the reason why is that I really just don't believe in being a gatekeeper. And so while I had always been passionate about the HR, human resources, and talent space, I had always known that I wanted to go to corporate America. And I'd even say that it was something that my pops was always okay, you taught, what's next? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And And I knew I wanted to make the jump, but I didn't know how I wanted to get there. And it's so crazy how divine intervention works because talent was something I was always doing. And it just was the fact that I never knew what it was called. And so that's another reason why I really feel passionate about us, like this evolution of who we are and this evolution of what we're calling our new podcast, Education Evolution, is exactly that. Like, we are literally that space to provide you the tools, the resources, so that you can think about what's next. And maybe it is that you still stay in the classroom and you're doing something else outside of the school building, or maybe it is that you get out of the school building and leave education altogether. But like, not having a sounding board to kind of think and strategize, like, I wish that that was something that was being offered to me so that I can see the realms of possibility, as opposed to literally leaving my job and not having anything lined up and having to figure it out. Like, that is never a good position to be in. And sometimes you have to take that leap of faith, but sometimes people don't have the means, the resources to do that. And so this is that space for you. Like, we really want you to be able to help find that clearer path. Like, it probably ain't going to be crystal clear, but we can at least give you the tools so that you can really be sitting with yourself and trying to figure it out. So just wanted to speak to that.
I'm glad you said that, because when we really get in, the creative juices be flowing. And we both experienced a career transition or pivot. We're always educators at heart, and we'll never forget about the educators. And I mean, it shows up in our work, in our organization, and like how we're organized, like all the things. I'm in ed tech curriculum sales, and most of the people I work with have been in the classroom. And this is no shade to the people that haven't, but there's a difference. You can tell a difference in how they communicate or how they're seen by like customers and such, just because the experience is different. So it'll always be valuable. But we do know that we are in unprecedented times when it comes to the education system and the defunding and the goals to, I was going to say decreate. That's not a word. Don't say that. It's almost like I didn't teach. I was a math teacher. But to destroy the Department of Education, I think the executive order around AI literacy, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. But with all that, like, there's a lot of newness. There's a lot of new opportunity, and there may be a lot of shifts in mindset. So if you're somebody that's in the classroom or like wants to make a pivot from a school building, want something that's on in the future for us, of course, on what it looks like to transition, just some of the tips and tricks, just because we both are in the classroom. We're in two different fields right now. There's obviously some overlap, but we have had one-off conversations with people about what it looks like to look for a role. How do I align my teaching experience to my resume with this particular role? There is a way to do it, baby. Teachers can do any and everything. It's just about wording it the right way and selling your value the right way. So that is something that we also have on the horizon to formalize a bit more, because we've been in and out of so many conversations like that. And I know I can say that you guys are catching me on a really great day, because what most people don't know is that I have been unemployed for 11 months. That's almost a year for all of us that know basic math. And I got a job offer 2 days ago.
Go ahead.
Go me.
Yes.
We're rooting for
You have
you.
been.
We're all rooting for you.
You have been working, okay?
I have.
And I just have to, sorry, another plug. Like, the amount of intentionality that you have put into this process, from the resume to the cover letters to the interview prep to the chart paper,
to the coffee chats, to the reaching out to strangers on LinkedIn. Hey, will you have a conversation with me so I can
come on,
all the things.
It paid off. It paid off. It also shouldn't be all of that to get a role. And so I think that, to your point about like us starting a transition resource for people who are looking to get into a new opportunity, yeah, we got a wealth of experience and knowledge.
Promise you. There were so many things I learned, like, and because I'm in sales, me trying to find a job was also practice in sales. I have to figure out what my value is, figure out what the mission is, what they're looking like. I have to be bold enough to ask the questions, like, okay, so why? I see this job's been up for 89 days. Why? Like, what are you looking for that you haven't found? I would imagine that you've had credible candidates. Like, you just got to say the stuff, because once I say it, nobody's actually offended. They're just like in regular conversation. And so some of it is like a mindset shift, realigning my actual own personal values. And some of it is just learning. Like, what is the most important things I need to learn about this company that I need to regurgitate in an interview to make it sound like I've been like, one thing they love to tell me, oh, you've done your research. You've done your research. I'm like, yeah, I did 30 minutes of research. But once you get the knack of it, but I would say that my time being unemployed was definitely had some joyous moments, but it was definitely some like troubling moments, because it's like your future's dependent on somebody liking you through a screen, because all the interviews are on Zoom. You know what I'm saying? Until you get to the last one. It's 5, 6, 7 rounds of interviews. And Jihad, I actually want to ask you this. What is an integrity interview? That's what I thought.
What I will say to that is, and my face probably responded to it, but what I will say to that is people be making stuff up, y'all. They be making stuff up and calling it an interview, and we got to stop. There's this woman on Instagram. She's Brandy, the millennial manager, and I love her stuff because she's an HR person. I'm gonna say you probably have seen it. She always be telling people, she's like, it's 5:00. Log off that damn computer. Log off. Them people are not paying you for a second more. But she also just speaks to how complicated we make these screening processes, how complicated we make onboarding, how complicated, like all of these things that we just create that take the humanity out of it, and not realizing, to your point, like how many people go through so many different processes and sometimes don't hear back. Sometimes are told one thing and then they switch up and say, oh, actually, gotcha.
Correct.
We don't need you to be in this interview process at all. Like, so to,
or they change
I've never heard of it
while you're in the process.
Yep.
They change the actual job.
So you don't even know what you're interviewing for. You don't even know what you're responding to.
I'm like, wait, huh? And like, I be getting it because I'm like, I know you're restructuring, but yeah, child, it's a tech. I mean, they've been around for 12 years. I'm not going to name the place because, I mean, I'll tell you later on the side. But I had a call with a recruiter, third-party recruiter. So I'm like, okay, you guys don't have an HR, like a solid like HR team, I mean, and granted, people use third-party recruiters. But I've been in the game so long, it's a difference between an HR business partner doing the screening call and a third-party recruiter doing the screening call. Is different. So we're on the call, and for some reason, she's also just distracted. That's a little irritating to me because you reached out to me. So by the time I'm on this call that you were 10 minutes late to, no problem, showed you some grace. She wasn't trying to give me the round. She didn't like state what the rounds were. And I was like, okay, well, what would be the next steps? Oh, so she's like listing them out, and she's still a 2-panel this, a 2-panel interview on this, and then an integrity interview. I said, what's that? And she's like, and she kept going. I'm like, no, what's an integrity interview? She was like, oh, well, I haven't like actually sat in one or anything. Please don't play with me, Bonnie. That's not her name. That's just a name that came up in my head. Because, I know you didn't get to the 6th round in interviews for this account executive role as a recruiter. Please. So then she like, when people explain something, but they still use the same definition. Like, 2-panel conversation for your integrity. And I'm just like, this is not a VP role. You didn't ask me to sign. No one's asked me to sign an NDA, because one interview process I did have to sign an NDA before I did the demo. But I'm like, what is an integrity interview? And I just feel like you should be able to tell me what that is, especially if it's 7 rounds. Then she talked, I'm like, well, when do you want to get this? When do you want this position to be filled? As soon as we find a credible candidate. Yeah, you guys all say that, babe. I know that, duh. And then she said, we could get these, like, depending on like the flow of scheduling, like we could get these out the way in like 2 weeks, 3, 7 interviews. So you think if I had a job that I just have time for 7 interviews in 2 weeks, they just be so unrealistic. And I know it's their job. Like, I get it that it's their job, but like, I had to tell another recruiter, she said something about getting somebody in the seat in 3 weeks. I said, oh, you're ambitious. They just got somebody in the seat the other day. Girl, you're 3 weeks over. So anyway. Yeah,
I don't know what these integrity interviews are. I'm really still shook at that.
There's just, it's crazy.
But I think, to your point though, one thing I will call out is ask the people what the interview process is, and also ask the people what each interview is assessing for, because
yes,
you can ask that question, and and more importantly, you need to know you're the person being interviewed. Like, you need to be you shouldn't have to walk into an interview and it be a culture interview or an integrity interview, and you're over here thinking that you're being asked questions about like your behavioral, like a behavioral assessment, or and then what's the format? Like sometimes there are a star method. And so certain companies will try to want you to answer questions using a specific method that they have designed. I think Amazon is one of them. So just really do your research and ask the questions because they will try to hide it if you don't ask. So make sure you're advocating for yourself.
Yeah, they're not going to say it out loud. And that piece about asking what the purpose of each interview is so important because at first I'm just getting recruiter calls, right? Then I'm getting a hiring manager, and then there was this phase where now I'm getting past the hiring manager, and I would be like, wait, what do I need to study for? But like asking, like some of them will send you a culture deck. Then you'll also notice a pattern. Like if you're interviewing with a senior VP or a VP, they're gonna ask you more higher level org type questions. You might ask you a little bit about your experience, but they're probably like in sales, for example, they're gonna ask you about forecasting your go-to-market strategy. Not that they don't want to hear about a deal that you've done and walk you through it, but like once you start to get an idea of who you're interviewing with, so even if you didn't ask the recruiter what the interview is about, once you know who you're interviewing with, you can kind of gauge it a little bit. I'm worked up.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, this job stuff, it's a, and then that's the other thing. And I feel like we used to say this all the time, but like finding a job is a full-time job. And so you get out of it what you put into it. And I actually heard Mel Robbins say something like this. I think she was on the Breakfast Club or something like that. And basically she was naming that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, but oftentimes you don't want to achieve it. And basically she was naming the fact that we could all be millionaires, but there are certain, and you can type into ChatGPT, how to like make me a millionaire in X amount of days. The issue lies in, do you want to commit to that plan that is going to take you to get to the $1 million? And oftentimes we don't. And so all that's to say, put in the work when it comes to trying to find a job. It should not be as hard as it is right now. I will name that as an HR person, talent person myself. But I think that it really lean in on your networks. Like that is definitely extremely important. And like, just like Lindsay was saying, like meet with the folks who are leading the search, meet with the folks who are the hiring manager, bug that friend who's at that company for the referral. Like I would literally say that the majority of my opportunities have been through referrals. And I know, like I said, I will always name the reality of it is that we're in unprecedented times when it comes to this job market. So I really hope that it doesn't stay like this for much longer, but you really are going to have to lean on your community to help you find those opportunities.
For sure. Those are all my updates.
I think that the only one that I wanted to name is just like, I'm excited. I'm really excited to be back, primarily because I feel like this work really does reground me in my purpose. And I just feel like I'm super passionate about helping people find opportunities and super passionate about not being a gatekeeper. And so education and evolution is really the space to kind of allow people to leave feeling empowered and learning something new and all of the different things. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
And so with that, I just want to say we hope that y'all feel up to date with everything now that we are back. We truly, truly, truly do appreciate the people who remain curious about where the podcast was during our short little hiatus. And we really do appreciate those who really do see the humanity in us through all of our personal updates. And we hope something that we said today really resonated with you.
And if you have yet to do so, subscribe to the YouTube page. That's where we're going to get the moolah, y'all. So help a sister and a brother out. Subscribe to the page. I would even ask that you get in the habit of sending the link to our episode to someone that you think can relate to it. This is a long one, but if you know anyone that can relate to, Jihad's experience of pivoting and what it felt like, really just going out on a limb, not having a role to transition to, but leaving the classroom, and then years later, you big dog. You know what I'm saying? Or if you know somebody that has a relationship with grief, maybe from suicide like myself, send this over to them so they can feel seen and feel heard. We want our space to be engaging as possible, but we really want people to feel the humanness and the connectedness. And the only way we can do that is when we hear something that reminds us of somebody. Don't let it stop there. and this goes beyond this little YouTube channel we got. I'm talking about real life, If you hear a song and it reminds you of somebody, just shoot the text, hey, I was thinking of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're on your phone and your memories pop up, right? Apple will be a little messy with the memories that pop up. But when it's a good one, okay, and it's a group picture, like, oh, send it to somebody. Like, that is how we build connection. These, like, hey, let's wait 3 to 6 months and then have a full-time catch up. That's not like building connection over time. Like, it is an important piece in where we are, but we can't keep saying we don't have enough time to build community. Because when you need the community, okay, and like we're millennials, a lot of our viewers are like 28 to 34, but like, when you have kids, you're going to need a community if that's your choice. When you get married or you're in long-term partnership, yeah, you'll be with your partner, but you're going to need community. And we're getting older, and life is going to happen to people. Grief is going to be a more familiar thing because everyone's getting older. You're going to need community. We don't need to wait till we're in dire need to build community. Sometimes it is as simple as sending someone a picture and saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. Call your friends. This is your reminder. Call your friend that you've been saying you're going to call for 3 weeks. Call your mom. She wants to hear from you. It takes 2 seconds. It don't got to be a long call. It could be 5 minutes. And once you're done with it, you're going to feel fulfilled because you accomplished a goal and you made a stronger, intimate connection with somebody who means so much to you. So let me get off my high horse. I want us to all love each other. Please.
And say that part too, though. Like, if you on that phone, tell that person that you love them. Like, that is what we need right now. Like, we need a lot of love, a lot of care, and a lot of compassion.
That's it.
Because it's a lot going on. So love on your people.
We're in a crazy place.
Yes.
We're in the upside down. Please. Okay. You know what? With that, y'all, please stay safe, stay compassionate, and stay loving.